What's up, guys? Today we're going to be checking out REL 3D setup once again. If you guys missed the video that we did originally, I think we did it like, what, a year or two ago? A year ago?
Yep, where we just talked about just using the center channel sub, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So today we're going to be checking out the 3D setup with the REL 1510 as...
Currently we're using it just as a front sub, 0.1 sub, but we're also going to use it where we're going to use the airship and run high level connection. So we're going to run full range for the front left and right, and also 0.1 for that front sub.
That's what we're going to be doing. So he's going to explain what the airship is.
So the airship is actually the wireless transmitter for the S series. It's made to, for the S series, bolt on the back. The wireless receiver will bolt onto the back of the S series. And the transmitter will sit back at the receiver side or the AVR side or the preamp side, whatever you're working with. In this case, we're going to use the airship. We're going to connect it to your preamp and your amp. So we're going to use the 0.1 from your preamp and then the high level connection. So we'll connect you to the front, left, and right speakers using the speak-on cable. And you and I already talked about how we stripped those wires back. We kept the ends on, but we just brought back a little bit of piece of the copper so that it's a good connection. And we're not going to touch anything on the back of the amp side and create any shorts or any live antennas or anything like that. So we're going to work on connecting that next, and then hopefully we'll have some fun playing with that.
So what does this unit look like?
This on the airship, the transmitter kind of looks just like this little guy right here. Now we are releasing an airship 2, and that will be actually what will be compatible with our HT1510 and the S series moving forward. So as you can see, you've got your 0.1 LFE connections in the back, you got your balance input, and you got your high level connection input on the back as well.
That's the transmitter or the receiver?
This is the transmitter. And then on the subwoofer side, you'll have your 0.1 output, and then you have your high-low output, okay? And it'll come with some standard RCA cables in the box. We always recommend, if you got the time and the money to go in there and upgrade your RCA cables for the subwoofer connection.
Even though the 1510 doesn't have high-level inputs, this will make it have high-level inputs. Is that what you're saying? Correct,
yep. So we will allow the 1510 in this scenario to be able to handle the full range signal that the front, left, and right speakers are getting. And we're going to cross it over so that when the front, left, and right speakers stop, the 1510 comes in and bridges that gap and plays that full range signal for the front soundstage.
And why exactly do we want to run this high level, not just going LFE out from the AVR or processor?
To actually for the front soundstage. Massively what it does is, in my opinion, in watching a movie, when you remove that high level connection and you go to generally what you have to with your front speakers and make them small, to cross over 80 or something like that, what happens is the movie stops becoming present in the room. It just becomes a movie on the screen, and the sounds coming from the screen, it sounds very thin. But in my opinion, by adding that high level connection and running your front, left, and right speakers full range, and adding that center channel sub, and also being able to run that center channel at full range, the movie becomes present in the room. Not only are you enjoying a great picture, but you're enjoying really good sound and this massive front sound stage. And then that's why we talked about, not only we're going to get that massive front sound stage, we're going to work with the back sound stage as well.
So Jared is trying to dial in the T9X connected to the center channel, trying to get it to blend in with the center channel so it blends well, it doesn't draw attention to itself. How are you doing that? Just in the phase?
Right now, we pretty much got the gain where we needed it. Right now, we're just working with crossover. Just trying to make sure that it's a perfect blend between the two. Using our sneakers, our favorite sneakers soundtrack, track 4, Hello Cosmos, my old friend. I think that's the name of it. And like you and I talked about, just the amount that the center is working right now.
Yeah.
And all you're doing right now, we agreed on that we're just playing the center channel right now with the music.
Yeah, so I've got the center channel on solo through the Trino, so I put it on solo. And this is the amount of bass coming out of your center channel. So when people tell you that there's not a lot of bass that comes out of your center or surrounds, that's a substantial amount right there.
And when we go cinematic on this, it's important to note that some people will argue on it that you don't want too much bass out of your center channel. All we're doing is playing what Dolby Labs has sent to that center channel. Mm-hmm. We're not playing the artificial movie effects, the 0.1 effects. We're only playing the full range signal that Dolby intended to go to your center channel.
So in the back corner, opposite corner of the 1510, we have the REL
HT1205, yeah.
1205. So we got that hooked up through the 0.1 on the altitude. And also the 1510 is hooked up with the 0.1 as well. Okay, so now we've got everything all dialed in. Well, Jared's got everything all dialed in. We're going to check out A Quiet Place Part 2, a little clip. What clip are we going to be checking out? What are we listening for? And what can the people at home listen for with this clip?
So right now, we'll just start with I believe it's scene 2, right? What we'll notice, or what hopefully we'll notice, is the atmosphere, right? We always say bass portrays space, okay? And in this case, as the actors are walking across the screen, you'll hear the voices kind of where they're supposed to be. You won't just hear them on the screen. They're going to be in the room with us. When the car door slams, it'll sound like an actual car door slam. It won't sound shallow. It won't sound fake. It'll sound real. As their cars driving by, things like that, you'll hear them. You'll feel it. If they're driving behind, you'll feel them actually driving behind you, not, again, just on the screen. So a couple of things we'll watch for is that, how the bass portrays the space. So when they're outside, you'll feel like you're outside. When they transition indoors in the cafe, we'll feel that transition indoors. So hopefully, you know, as long as we get everything set up right, that's what we'll hear. And then what we like to do sometimes, just to A/B it, is we'll watch the scene with the high level connection, and then we'll go in, disconnect the high level, and listen to the scene again.
All right, so a couple of takeaways that I got from this was that every time the monster would swipe or car doors closing, you would get that immediate thump from the center channel, which I think if you didn't have a center channel sub, you would kind of just feel it from the front, left, and right. So it would just be like this big, huge radius of sound just coming out from your front stage. But this one is more direct because when you're seeing the monster swipe on screen in the center of the screen, it sounds like he's actually like hitting this person, or if that car door is slamming in front of you, it sounds like it's coming from the center. Or if it's kind of a mixture between maybe like, I think the truck was on the left side of the screen. So it's kind of like a nice mix between the front, left, and the center. So main takeaways there. And then of course with the LFE, because the LFE is put in there as well, you do get that nice full sound because we also have the third subwoofer in the back, which I don't think we spoke enough about.
Yeah, it just gives you that massive wall of sound in the back of the room that we're missing normally when we don't put that sub in the back of the room. So generally how we like to recommend setting up most theaters is you have opposite corners, front left, back right, or depending on the room, it could be opposite of that. It could be front right, back left. But we really want those 0.1 subs to be able to work with each other and really fill that room. But getting back to the 3D side of it, really just putting you in the scene. If something falls on the floor in front of you, it literally falls on the floor in your room. It doesn't happen on the screen and that's it. It really encompasses what is going on in the movie. And so not, like we talked about earlier, you're not only enjoying a great picture, you're also immersed in sound. You're enveloped in sound. And the sound is happening in the space that it is on the movie as well. So it's really putting you in the scene, and you get to enjoy that full feeling.
You know, if I had a larger space, I think it'd be interesting to have a subwoofer hooked up high level to each one of the speakers on the lower level. Have you heard something like that before?
Yeah, basically if you could, I mean, we recommend if you can underpin every speaker with a subwoofer and actually get the full range sound that is going to each individual speaker, it's going to make that experience even more immersive.
Which I think IMAX Enhanced does that at the theaters. Like I don't believe IMAX has subwoofers. I think they just run all full range speakers, which is kind of like the same idea as what we're talking about here.
Yeah, so just being able to really immerse yourself in the sound is fun. And you know, if you do research, when Dolby Labs does a soundtrack for a movie, they're assuming that all 5 of your speakers are full range. And what easier way to truly make them full range and get the sound that is going to each of them if we have the ability to underpin each speaker with a sub. It brings movie making to a whole new level, or not movie making, but listening to a movie, watching Netflix, watching, You know, even if it's severely compressed audio that we're watching from Netflix, it's still a great experience. One thing we failed to mention during The Quiet Place 2, the scene where, you know, anybody that's watched the movie knows that the girl's deaf or hard of hearing. And when you go inside her perspective or inside her head, you go in her perspective of the movie or what's going on around her, all you hear is her heartbeat. Well, you've got this massive scene of chaos going around, all these aliens chasing, aliens jumping on things like that, these massive sounds, and then just when they transition into her head, it's just boom, quiet, done. It just stops on a dime and nothing lags into it. And it's very impactful because it's chaos, silence.
Usually with like some of the cheaper subs I've reviewed, you can feel a little bit of that overhang once it slams. When it's supposed to like stop abruptly, sometimes you'll feel a little bit of bloat. You know, if your subwoofer's got some bloat to it, a little bit of boominess to it, almost kind of like a sound bar subwoofer would sound, where it kind of overhangs a little bit, like rumbles on. This one is just like stop and go really quick. So I guess that's one of the main characteristics that you get when you have a REL subwoofer or a subwoofer that's really, really high quality. So that's the kind of a sensation that I got from it. So let's piggyback again off of having each subwoofer on each channel. Obviously, I don't have the space for that. So I guess the next best thing is having that 1205 in the rear of the theater. And that's basically kind of like a backfill, right?
Yeah, it basically helps fill the back of the room with the sound that is supposed to be happening in and around us, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah, so during that scene in a quiet place, you know, when Emily Blunt is hopping into the car, backing away from the alien driving the bus, so there's that sensation of space. We did like an A and B on-off comparison. So without the back subwoofer turned on, you can see once they jump into the car, there's that sound of the engine, that low rumbling of the car engine, that is missing if you have the back subwoofer turned off. Whereas when we turn it back on, you get that atmospheric almost pressure, not only in the front of the room, but also in the back of the room. So it feels more like you're in this enclosed space and there's tension that's built up around you. Whereas once we turned it back off, everything was kind of just in the front stage. And also that pressure wasn't quite there as well. Even though we have this gigantic 15 over here, just that little 12 just really fills in the back part of the theater. Just gives you nice atmospheric pressure.
We both noticed that the second she jumped in the car and that transition into the car, the second time around watching it with the sub, it's just like, okay, there was that car rumble we were missing inside the first time around. So it was very evident.
Like I said, just that low bottom end presence just fills the entire room up. Whereas without it, it's just basically just kind of in the front of the room. Always have two subwoofers, at least one in the front, one in the back. Most people like to put one in each corner in the front of their space, but I think you really have to do one up front, one in the back, just to really even out the response everywhere and just to get that nice even pressure.
Yeah, and this is one way of doing what we're talking about today is REL 3D, is with the three subwoofers in the room. You could go one step further if you really wanted to, and we could add a classic REL in the back. We could do a T9X in the back. We could run your rear speakers full range, cross over, the T9X so that we're marrying the speakers and the subs together at the right stage, and then enjoy that true full range sound that we're missing in the back. But that 1205, just getting that 0.1 in the room, back of the room, is a massive game changer for me, in my opinion.
Now, do you have to have REL subwoofers to try this out? Or can you experiment with other subwoofers?
Oh, we always say feel free to experiment with any other subwoofer. I think what we're trying to do here is just bring home great entertainment to anything. And I feel what we do with speed is what really helps, especially with stuff like this, scenes like this, where chaos, and then silence is where we like to really kind of talk about or hang our hat on, is the speed and the percussiveness of the subs.
Yeah, so obviously if you want to get like the speed, accuracy of their subs, then obviously try their subs. But if you want to experiment with what you have at home and you just got some subwoofers up front, try one in the back just to see, get the sensation of what we're talking about. And I think your experience is going to be greatly enhanced. Anyways, guys, that's just our thoughts again on the REL 3D setup. Have you guys tried it? If so, what do you think? How's it sound? Leave a comment down below and let us know. And If you don't have a REL 3D setup, try it out. Once you do try it out, come back here, leave a comment down below, and let us know. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you again in the next video.
Thanks, guys.